Hello and welcome to Campaign Comrades, your favorite Leftist gaming podcast. We've got all four comrades in the chat today. It is the end of June. We're getting prepared ourselves for a little 4th of July retreat.
Hell yeah.
I hope you all have your patriotism hats on. Hope you're all ready to steal some valor this coming weekend. We're going to be going to a big race that has fireworks, and I'm going to be saluting the whole time, and I hope you do too.
At attention. I will remain at attention.
Do you have a camo hat right now? Yeah. So as Matt and my state governor races a race car. Can't wait. Gonna be America's birthday. It's gonna be sick. But yeah, we're planning some activities. Maybe gonna record a fun little local co-op gaming vlog of all the different kind of gaming stuff we get up to, and maybe a little of the other things that we do while the two corporate elites make their way up to the rural heartland of central Vermont. But yeah, folks, it's been a interesting month in gaming news, because to me it was like so jam-packed full of stuff with like Summer Game Fest, which is going to be my topic that I'm going to pepper throughout our conversation on like the different showcases. But like there's so much that get covered in these showcases that it all just kind of washes over me to the point where I come back around to feel like not much happened this month. We had big releases. Death Stranding 2 is out right now and is current critical darling. I feel like player sentiment has been roughly on par. I haven't seen stuff like that, much to my personal dismay.
Ben has been searching far and wide for anything that confirms his bias.
Yeah. But it does seem that like Kojima has in fact cooked, and I'm going to need to suffer through playing Death Stranding 2. Pray for me, folks. But to kind of wash that away, I can think of all the other exciting games that I am now looking forward to. So to kick us off, I guess I'll start with the first of the major showcases. And let's be clear here off the bat. 1, I'm not going to cover every showcase. Two, I'm not going to cover every game from the showcases that I do want to bring up. I'm just talking about the big three. The big three may be misleading. I'm not talking about Nintendo, even though they technically had a direct this month on Donkey Kong. If you want some thoughts on that, go check out Matt and my YouTube video on the current state of Switch 2.
Ben's racist against Donkey Kong. He doesn't want to cover it again. He reluctantly covered it to begin with. Donkey Kong hater.
I literally posted a short today just before we logged on to record about Matt and I talking about Donkey Kong and about how he's so excited for it, and I'm just like, can't be bothered.
Racist.
Funny Monkey Go Bonanza is definitely something that has stuck in my brain from Matt and my discussion, but yeah, just don't think it's for me. What I do think is going to be for me, however, and in no particular order of the games as they were shown in the showcase, but I'm really looking forward to the 007 game.
Yes.
Coming from IO Interactive. We saw a fair amount of footage, both kind of cutscene and in-engine, and some gameplay. Gameplay was like, a super cut of kind of small edits, but I don't know, I think like IO is one of the best choices for developers to handle this. I like that they're doing the young Bond as he's earning his 00 status.
That's dope.
Allows for a nice entryway. Not that James Bond is a mysterious character to anybody remotely plugged into popular culture, but...
And you don't understand, children don't know who James Bond is anymore because movies are too difficult to watch.
Too damn long.
I don't know then if they're going to like this game either, because...
They're not going to be able to sit through a Casino Royale in the modern day.
Yet the kids do love to play... I was thinking, there was another announcement of they're doing another crossover. For some reason I wanted to say that they added Le Chiffre from Casino Royale to Death by Daylight, which Gen Z loves, but no, that wasn't it. They're doing a Hitman thing with Le Chiffre as well. Again, all these things have melded into my brain from trying to watch all these things. But no. What I'm interested in is that it looks to be like a more narrative focused adventure than the kind of open sandbox style stealth missions that are Hitman levels. I would assume that they're going to have story progression missions that have a very kind of Hitman approach to you can approach the mission in that kind of sandboxy way. I'm fairly confident they will do that, but I think it's going to be much more story focused with cutscenes and a singular narrative that they're pushing. So I'm very excited to see that. I think it looks good. I like to see that the model for James Bond doesn't look like Tom Holland, which means that hopefully the rumors that he's being eyed for the next movie Bond is not true. But I digress.
I've seen there was like rumors yesterday, I believe, of like some young black actor for the next like movie Bond.
They've like toyed around with stuff like that since talking about Idris Elba, and
Idris Elba was the rumor in like 2015.
Yeah,
the Broccoli's are no longer involved, and the reporting pointed to them being the issue with taking James Bond that direction, at least. So
interesting. Okay, next thing from State of Play was the Final Fantasy Tactics. Not really a remake, kind of a remaster, re-release on modern hardware, but I'm excited to be able to play it on modern hardware.
The best tactics games of all time.
Rather one of the best political games of all time, too.
Nope, so not gonna play
it. Whoops, not gonna play it. There's like the line from Final Fantasy Tactics that I'm gonna butcher, but it has something to do with like if the punishment for a crime is a fine, then it is in reality just a tax on the poor.
Hell yeah.
Something like that.
I think that's a quote from like, elsewhere.
I'm Googling it. FF Tactics.
If that quote originated from FF Tactics...
If the penalty for a crime is a fine, the law only exists for the lower classes. Yeah, that's right. That's what it is. So I was close. So I'm excited to play that. I own it for PS1 and I have my PS1, but I'd rather play it on PS5 rather than having to plug my...
I'm playing that on Switch too, baby.
I mean, I get it. I totally get it. Those games run well
they belong on Switch.
And they're good on portable machines, no doubt about it. So I'll think about it. I'll think about that one.
If you buy the Switch 1 version, it has a free Switch 2 upgrade.
Interesting. Let's see. Neo 3. Matt, any thoughts on Neo 3? I still need to play Neo 1 and 2, but like...
That's my thoughts.
They're cooking?
I mean, it looks cool. I hope that...
Think of how many games they've released in the past couple years.
What the fuck
that's Wolong Fallen Dynasty. That's Stranger's Paradise.
Are they feeding Team Ninja? Or what are they not feeding?
That's Rise of the Ronin last year. Neo 3.
Well, didn't they come out and say that they're employed to the point where they can continue to release like 1 or 2 games a year for the next in perpetuity? Essentially, that was Ninja, wasn't it? That said that this month. I'm pretty sure.
Hopefully they can kind of up the quality bar a little bit because
I want worse games more frequently.
Wolong was better received than Rise of the Ronin, I think, but both definitely had their criticisms on some jank. And that the one bit that has kept me from really diving into Neo is the central gear system being so prevalent and also being, incremental in an unsatisfying way, but that they need to improve their level design. It's not like their mission-based levels that lack the cohesiveness of traditional Souls levels, but obviously it's not an open world or anything like that. So hopefully they do cook with that one. The footage looked good. We got a re-announcement of the Capcom game Pragmata, which is this kind of God of War coded sci-fi game that they're calling a hack and shoot, like a play on hack and slash, but it's like literal hacking. The little AI robot girl on your shoulder in real time does a mini hacking game to strip armor to be able to actually do damage. And it looks, from what I heard of people who previewed it said it was more fun than it sounds. That they actually, because that sounds like it could be annoying, right? That sounds like,
yeah.
But that they succeeded, and that the hacking game itself is fun and feels tactile. Think of it kind of like a stripped down, more simplistic, like the BioShock tube puzzle, the hacking puzzle, where it's like you're using like the D-pad or I think actually, no, you're using the face buttons to try to move a cursor through these different like quadrants or whatever. It's more than 4, but so like through these different things, and if you got to get to a certain point to strip the armor, but if you go through certain paths, you can also apply debuffs or buffs to yourself or stuff like that. But it supposedly feels good and works well. So interested to see how that goes. People have been saying that the story looks stupid as fuck, but
is it real-time combat while you're doing that,
yeah,
or is this
you're shooting?
Okay,
it's shooting.
That's okay. That's
So,
interesting.
that looks kind of cool. I'm hopeful that is not completely dog shit.
I mean, it's Capcom. You can relatively hold out that their history states it'll probably be at the very least like average good game.
Yeah. The only issue is that it's been in development hell, right? That's always the caveat that you got to throw in there. And then last thing that interested me from State of Play was the new Suda 5-1 game called Romeo is a Dead Man. Just looks like a hyper stylized action game with kind of a cool art style that it's got like almost like a hand drawn. I'm looking at some still shots of it, and I mean this in the most complimentary way. It's got an art style that reminds me of like a Beavis and Butthead, like that kind of animation.
Yeah.
Like simple lines.
Yeah.
It's not cel shaded or anything like that.
That's a great description. I know exactly what you're talking about. That style of animation.
And there's a character that looks like one of them, whichever the blonde one from Beavis and Butthead is. I don't remember. At least from profile in this still shot, looks like one of them. And yeah, I'm always interested to see what Suda 5-1 is cooking up. And
you're missing the actual hottest game from that.
These were games that interested me. Are you talking about? Are you being sincere or?
I'm being sincere. The one that had the most internet discussion and hype.
Don't tell me it's the
Token.
Oh, Token. That's right. Yeah.
The Marvel Arc System Works fighting game.
No, that's a legit
PlayStation and console exclusive with Steam release.
I don't have any interest in it. It's a fighting game, not for me.
I know. I'm just bringing it up because it had a lot of internet hype around it.
Yeah,
There's some funny reactions to. I think it was the Xbox showcase. There was an Invincible fighting game that was showed off.
Yeah, Invincible.
And it was oh, mommy, I want the new Marvel fighting game. It's like we have the Marvel fighting game at home.
What's cool that for fighting game fans that they've got that to look forward to, plus the PlayStation Fight Stick thing that they're coming out with. That could be cool. The only thing I like from the Token thing is the Gundam inspired Iron Man design. That's the cool thing for me. But not a fighting game fan, so not for me.
I just wanted to bring it up because it had generally
no, you're right. No, you
most...
were right to do so. You're right to do so. I did overlook that one. I meant to just mention it. That was the show ender, right? And so they spent a solid 10 minutes on it, but not for me. All right, moving on.
This fighting stick, though, is this just an accessory that essentially gives you an arcade fighting stick?
Have you ever seen a fighting stick?
Yeah, sticks. They're
just a big pad with a big joystick and
with a bunch of buttons. With a bunch of buttons. It's what a lot of fighting game pros prefer to use.
That tracks.
And this one will work with PC as well. So this is not just a purely PlayStation peripheral. It'll obviously work for PlayStation, but think of it. It's kind of like their edition, like their accessibility controller, which can be used in all sorts of platforms. Yeah, so that was it for what interested me from the PS showcase. But Andrew, what else do we have to look forward to for the future of PlayStation?
Yeah, so this one was, to me, and kind of how I saw it as not watching the showcase, a lot of what I had seen being talked about online was around this announcement on Sony putting their full weight behind advancing towards their next console and the PlayStation 6. And the reaction to that was one that I found to be interesting because I think it is emblematic of how the general gamer constituency
Are stupid.
are both stupid and respond to everything with just immediate negativity, and in doing so just are like claiming the PS5 era for Sony is just a failure across the
gut
board.
reaction is to be a hater.
It really is.
I will say
it really is.
For a lot of things that can be the healthiest way to approach things, skeptically and uncertain of particularly corporate interest, right? But when it comes to culture, right, it's just toxic. That's all it is.
It's very toxic.
I just think the funniest part about it is it's normal for a new console to be the focus of a company about 2 years-ish before they would be launching it, because that would follow the 7-year launch cycle.
Yeah, that was the part about it to me that's just like so astounding, is like, man, everyone just has such a fast memory. Like, do you forget that this is how things work every like 3 years essentially?
My running theory has been that what happens is younger people get older and all of a sudden time starts to move a little quicker because all of a sudden,
plus the COVID compression.
Yeah, COVID is a I would say is a major factor in this kind of flattening of time, both for the actual
in
nature
general
of what it did to COVID and what COVID did to people's brains.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that if you go from 6 to 13, but 7 years is more than 50% of your life.
But then it's the impact that COVID had on not only the industry but PlayStation in general.
Typically,
like
yeah.
people couldn't get PS5s for two plus years after launch. So in their mind, it's like, I just got my PS5 3 years ago. How are you telling me that I'm going to need to get a new one in 2 years?
Exactly.
Not putting the math in is that for Sony, yes, this is the normal cycle. But then it's also that goes into the game development thing of, there haven't been enough first party games, which I tend to be one I can agree with. But I
disagree.
It's also a knock on of COVID. I've been one to say though, it's not that I've had a shortage of things to play on my PS5.
I just think people got stuck because it was front loaded. A lot of the first party releases were the first couple years, and if people couldn't play it for the first 2 years, it felt like all of a sudden
it's another again knock on effect of COVID. How so many of those what should have been these like next generational titles felt that they were held back because they were crossover titles, because people couldn't get a fucking PS5. So of course that was the appropriate business decision for Sony to do. They're not going to ignore the install base of as massive as the PS4, particularly when most people can't fucking get their hands on the next one. So yeah, but so people felt like we're just like Death Stranding is like one of the first true titles of this generation, right? And we're already talking about the next one. So I get the frustration.
But I mean, we know for looking at this that like Horizon Forbidden West was on the PS5. The PS5 version was as next gen as it gets with visuals and gameplay combination.
At the time, yeah, but it was also a somewhat disappointing game, so that's a different story.
Well, and I agree with your assessment of the response, and I think that's somewhat fair, but at the same time, I still think this argument around not enough exclusives is ignoring historical trends in the fact that the PS4
best exclusives came in its last 2 years.
Right.
But I also don't think it's going to be comparable on that regard. Just because we've talked about this at length, right? That game development cycles are completely fucked, right? That these games take too long.
You still have room for
too much
Intergalactic, Wolverine.
Excuse me, you're not getting either of those on the PS5. Are you kidding me? Particularly Intergalactic. Get the fuck out of here. That game shouldn't have even been announced.
That's the Naughty Dog one, right? Yeah, we'll see.
That is essentially a.
Are you saying that in the next 2 years you wouldn't see either of those? Because I would put
Wolverine, maybe.
$100 down on this podcast that you will see one of those in the next 2 years.
Wolverine, maybe, but no, Intergalactic, that's a no, absolutely no way you see that before 2028. No way.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are both going to probably be cross-gen. You'll see a cross-gen release of definitely the Naughty Dog game. Wolverine I could see being PS5. But I just find
that I could see being a tail end. They had Spider-Man 2 and then kind of bookend it that way. That I would agree with.
But I also find this response to be strange in the light of not only PlayStation and Sony's dominance of this era, but their financial success too. This is the most profitable system of Sony's history. They've
Andrew, you're a sports fan. You remember when a sports team dominates for years and then everyone hates them just because they're good?
Yeah, no, you're right. It is kind of become
everyone hates the Chiefs now. Everyone hated the Warriors. Everyone still hates LeBron.
Yeah. I think you're right about that. And I think that's where some of the consumer pain of losing Xbox as a real competitor to Sony in this way is being seen. And I think that's kind of where we're all, whether or not we want a Xbox, we are all going to suffer at least somewhat from the fact that it's no longer there to be the foil to Sony and PlayStation.
Yeah, I agree. Sony can do what they fucking want. Who's gonna punish them for it?
Apple console. Gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, Netflix.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, I just I'm here for the PS6 news. It's not a surprise to me. It makes sense. Like, this is still going to be, we have time. Calm down, everyone. It's not getting released next year.
Is I'm looking forward to the inevitable once it's announced and people are going to be like, oh my God, it's just going to get scalped to hell again, when it'll end up being similar to the Switch launch where you'll just be able to get them as they drop. There will be plenty.
PS5 was a unique, but
people have been poisoned to think that is how every launch is going to be from now to forever.
No, it's only because of COVID.
Reorders will be like that. But actual, in the wild sales, will be hopefully back to normal.
It's like I went to Walmart today, and my local Walmart had Switch 2s in stock.
Is the economy still been branded though? By that point, that's the question. Is the supply chain still suffering from brandonomics? I don't know. We'll see.
I would bet on it, to be honest.
Well, we don't get anything console wise from Canada, so we don't have to worry about that.
But you know what we do get from Canada? The host and creator of the Game Awards, Jeff Keighley.
I knew I didn't like him.
And his now not E3 Summer Game Fest, which was, as has continued the trend, I think the most disappointing of the actual major showcases.
I mean, they've even stopped really giving the, like, hey, don't get your hopes up warning at this point. They've kind of...
I mean, they had the big ticket item, right? They had the RE9 remake. The RE9, not even remake. The RE9 announcement here, which people got super excited for, that, again, does not make my list at all. So it's a disappointment for me that, like, so far we're at two of like, the show enders... to me are both pay no mind games, which was kind of a bummer, but there's enough peppered in throughout here that was interesting to me. So obviously we had the Lies of P Overture Shadow Drop that I'll get to at some point, but I'll have to do a full new playthrough to get there. So it is what it is. I'm going to have to feel really compelled to want to do that. So from all accounts, it's very good. From all accounts, it's like $30 to $30 thing. It's about like 12, 15 hours of new kind of essentially end game content, new weapons.
My question for you though, have you learned your lesson about starting New Game Plus?
Yes. Okay. I have.
Just clarifying.
Absolutely. I was still a novice when I beat Lies of P. I was still new. I was still new to the
finishing games.
The Souls way of doing things.
He played the game on heavy roll, over invested in vigor, no investment in anything else.
I mean, dodging in Lies of P is pretty much useless, except for some rare instances. You have to upgrade your dodge.
I was just making the Dark Souls new player mistakes.
No, I gotta distribute the stats, right? I gotta put 1 into everything. I don't know what the fuck Arcane is, but I probably need it at some point.
Yeah, and by the time you're in New Game Plus 7, you have a god character who can't die and can use everything.
So I want to play. Like, I really do want to play. And if I wasn't stupid and hadn't started a New Game Plus with no intention of doing a New Game Plus run, I would have jumped.
That's what gets me.
I would have jumped right into it. Because I thought, like, maybe I'll decide at some point in the future. I know Matt talks about doing New Game Plus runs on Souls games before. Yeah, maybe
I do them
to
get
one.
all the endings without having to redo everything. I have all of my equipment already.
Yeah, it's like maybe I'll do one, but no, because I'm not a game replayer, which is why it's gonna be a lot to force me to play this again. It'll be like if we want to talk about it for the podcast. Then I will, obviously, I'll do it then. But I don't know when I'll get around to it. Because there are plenty of other Souls games that I want to play. Like, I still need to play Bloodborne. That's my number one priority at the moment. But I just got to be in the right vibes for it. The real one that I'm, like, obsessing over, that, like, I cannot wait to play. I'm so excited. It seems like they're really going for some evolutions of their kind of core game design philosophy, is RGG's new, what used to be called codenamed Project Century, but has now been revealed fully as Stranger Than Heaven. So the Yakuza developers are making this game that people are speculating that because the original footage that they showed when it was called Project Century was at like turn of the century Japan, and now what we've seen is in the 40s, in Japan in the 40s, that it's potentially going to be either a game where you are following either the same character and there's some kind of mystical thing going on of this is one guy running throughout the century of Japan, or you're following an organization that develops through the history of Japan.
Lineage, and they all share similar nicknames.
Or something
some
like
sort
that,
of bizarre adventure.
Yeah.
My question is, do you witness Hiroshima and Nagasaki if it's taking place in the 40s?
I mean, I assume that it's going to be that the war will definitely have some level of implication, but I think it's in Osaka, I think is where it takes place. But it looks really cool, like that they're just, the combat looks completely different than
Is it turn-based still? No,
it's action, and they've only done turn-based for their last two,
right,
Like a Dragon games. But it's not just like classic beat 'em up. It looks more contextual, and there's like there's choice-based, a choice system that seems to be implemented. I don't know. It looks cool. I'm super excited for it. Like anything that they put out, I'm gonna play at this point, and I'm absolutely a devotee, and this just looks really cool. So I'm all in for that. I already said RE9 was the big one.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't really care. Andrew, do you have any thoughts on Resident Evil 9?
Well, from what I've seen, they've gone back and forth, or they're just kind of playing with the audience here as to whether Leon is returning or not in this version.
He'd be like what, like 50 or something?
Yeah. And
Old Man Leon?
Yeah, I'm totally in if it's Old Man Leon, which I kind of feel like it will be, and they're just...
Everything I've seen indicates he's in it, but he's not the focal character.
So he's not the focal character, but he still might be playable. That's the consideration. And they're doing some weird things where they're swapping between first and third person perspectives and stuff like that. But all right, cool, have fun.
I'll be interested. It's not going to be like a day one buy, but if the reception is good, I will definitely be picking it up without a question.
Oh my God, I still need to fit in for a remake into my play schedule, and I just don't want to do it, but I will, because I'm a good podcaster and a better friend.
Yes, you are. I appreciate your sacrifice.
But we got more footage of Onimusha, Way of the Sword. That looks cool.
That's the one I'm excited about in this list, outside of like kind of the the other names mentioned here. I thought that was...
Yeah, it's just new gameplay footage. It looks kind of slower paced and methodical swordplay combat where a lot of environmental interactions, like you can trip up your opponents, get them to get tangled up in a banner or something, temporarily blind them and get a backstab, and some cool boss fights, but it's not a Souls-like. They've been clear on that, so I think that's good. Yeah, and then Atomic Heart 2 is coming out. Atomic Heart 2 is coming out. And
Will you play?
It'll be one of the things, it'll be like you just said for RE9. It won't be a day one pickup. It'll be what's the consensus on it.
It's going to be you putting the clown makeup again and playing a game that you didn't like sequel.
I didn't hate the first one. I thought it was fine. It was like a 7 out of 10 with a very reactionary take on communism. But folks, go check out that now quite old video on the YouTube channel where I dissect the politics of Atomic Heart. Yeah, it's weird. Lots of sexy robots. I like that. They're calling it a spiritual sequel, yet still calling it Atomic Heart 2.
It tells me they're confused.
Yeah, I mean, they're weird. They're weirdos. It's not like it's not a continuation of the story from the first one. So we'll see. I won't really be paying attention to the MMO game that they're releasing in the Atomic Heart universe called The Cube. The Cube. Behold, the Cube. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, and that's it for that really interested me from Summer Game Fest. Although I think it was probably in the Sony show that, Matt, I'm surprised you didn't have me talk about Digimon Story Cyber...
We've already talked about it enough. We don't need to talk about the game of the year.
Yeah, the new Digimon game. Okay, yeah, so...
It's going to release and it's going to blow Legend Z to A out of the water.
Speaking of the superior monster collector, Digimon, Mike, what's going on in your Poke realm? You exist in oblivious to everything else that goes on in the world.
Yep. I would just like to say that Japan is doing an Italiophobia.
When have they not? Right. Let's be real.
Which, like, you know, as a Southern Italian,
but when you're best friends, when you're both fascist lovers, you're allowed to make fun of each other.
Well, no, it's not even that they're making fun of. It's they're excluding, which is what bothers me. Okay. So we got leaks.
So that's just fake friend stuff then.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like we were there. Again, I don't support the unified Italian state. I'm a Southern Italian peasant person. Come on, be real with your friends. We were there when you needed us in the 40s. Like, come on. So the reason I'm upset is the Gen 10 leaks, and each region of Pokemon, each generation, has some inspiration in real life, locations. Kanto is Japan. A lot of them are Japan. Some of the more recent ones, notably Scarlet and Violet was the Iberian Peninsula. They've been to the UK in Sword and Shield. They've been to France in...
There's an Oibro Pokemon? Christ.
And now...
They're Pokemon.
Now we come to, youth on Gen 10, and, Italy missing out again, and we're going with the Greek Isles. So, what makes it worse?
The superior Mediterranean culture.
Yeah, that's the Italiophobia there. That's going on. So
have you guys ever seen the clip of some obnoxious Italian chef, but it's with Gordon Ramsay, the goat, the king, who's like, Greek food is better than Italian food, and this guy literally has a meltdown?
Yeah, of course. So that
we can eat all that we want and never gain weight because of the olive oil.
Get a cigarette and a coffee. Maybe work for 1/2 hour, 2.5 hours.
A heavy bowl of cream.
So I'm upset with the Pokemon Company for that, but excited about Game Freak and their new game coming out that they have shown trailers of called Beast of Reincarnation.
Yeah, and so one of the standouts from the Xbox showcase, which I will talk about afterwards. But go ahead.
But this is a Pokemon game. You have a dog. You have as Pokemon. You have a companion. They're even calling the game a, what do they call it? A one person, one dog action RPG. So it is a,
You're trying to say that dogs are Pokemon now?
in this world, this dog acts as a Pokemon. Yes. Very similar to, why am I blanking on his name? I know it's a T. I want to say Torrent. Is it Torrent? No, Torrent's the,
That's your horse in Elden Ring.
yeah.
Mike, back up off your microphone.
What's
yeah, there we
the,
go.
in Final Fantasy?
Torgal?
Torgal. Yeah. Kind of like a Torgal. Like, you know, dog guy. But it's Sekiro Pokemon.
Sekiro Pokemon.
To me, it's like Sekiro Near
Yeah.
influence because
Pokemon.
there's some robots involved. So
yeah, but so you're in
Folks-
post-apocalyptic Japan.
go look at the. I encourage folks to go look at this trailer because it looks quite impressive for the majority, for like 98%
It runs at like
of it.
15 frames per second.
I mean, compression is very bad, but yeah, I'm sure it will run and play like absolute dog shit. But it looks pretty impressive. Just largely just thinking of like put Scarlet and Violet right next to this, and just like that's not the same company.
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
The say what you will about the frame rate or whatever, but like it's a very kind of like detailed game. Like it has that kind of Elden Ring, Dark Souls
It's
kind
like
of.
they've actually discovered the concept of art design.
Yeah.
That's not creature
Novelty.
design, you know. But yeah. So the funny bit though is like, oh, this looks like like a proper. It doesn't look next gen, right? But it looks like a proper modern game from Game Freak. And then so there's like it looks like kind of cool, slick combat. And then there's like this scene where the MC is just like falling back. Like in this like dramatic moment, like whether it's like falling off a cliff or getting thrown from a creature or something, and it's just like there's zero facial animation. There's just a faint smile,
Mona Lisa's smile.
and it just falls back. And that immediately
Artistic choice.
that immediately broke my immersion. I was like, okay, that's the company that I know. And
One thing I thought was interesting that I wanted to point out about its development. So the publisher is going to be Fictions Inc., which was a Take-Two company. It was one of their in-house publishers until November of 2024. It was the third with Rockstar and 2K.
formerly it was Private Division.
Yeah, I forgot that it had a name change. Yeah. But yeah, so they're the ones publishing it.
Interesting. Yeah, it's like the Kerbal Space Program people.
Yeah, and it'll be like one of their first big games going solo, not under the parent company.
My like big thing is like, did they just like finally crack open the room with millions of dollars in it and decided to actually put it to use here? They let's take some of that Pokemon money and actually use it.
Opened up the Scrooge vault, and the money that just poured out, that the room couldn't contain it anymore. They're like, I guess we got to use it.
We gotta hit the release valve, I guess.
Yeah.
We simply can't burn enough of it.
Yeah, we either need to build another room, another vault,
Or I guess we could make a game.
Yeah.
I jest because, Game Freak loves to say that how they still consider themselves an independent developer, but like they are basically contracted by the Pokemon Company.
And a lot of their workers are contracted by Game Freak.
The Game Freak and the Pokemon Company are not the same entity. That Game Freak is, they like to say that we're an independent game company that happens to make, the most popular and profitable JRPG franchise of all time.
Not even just JRPG franchise, just IP.
Yeah.
In general.
They just handle the JRPGs. They're not involved with the trading cards and the merch and all that. So that is what they are, what they do. And so it's not like that they are truly seeing the billions and billions and billions of yen that that the Pokemon Company is.
Billions
right?
and billions of yen is roughly $6.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure they're
The
seeing
$10,000. How are we going to spend this? But yeah, I still just feel like, how do you have the creative potential to do something like this, yet you can't get you either can't get the resources from the Pokemon Company or aren't willing to put that.
I think you're looking at it the wrong way. Why would we put resources into something that's going to sell 30 million copies regardless of what we do?
Yes, because it could sell. It could sell 50 million.
No,
but then it would cost more money to make. And if we just put the minimal amount of effort and money into it, we can maximize our profit off 30 million.
Yeah.
My thing is like, obviously make fun of the jump to, like, Scarlet and Violet looks like trash, whatever.
They'll be sitting there, they'll be like, hey, Kevin, we need a new Pokemon design. He'll be like, Water Bottle Mon.
No, they're just going on Reddit and ripping fake mons. But what I find
This is
interesting
Keymon. He is just a ring of keys.
Isn't that an actual Pokemon?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Even if Scarlet
Nothing
and Violet
tops Ekans, though. Nothing tops Ekans.
and Arbok,
Just Snake
Cobra,
backwards.
and then Cobra backward.
That's because our original Pokemon designs were just regular creatures and stuff that they stole from Dragon Quest.
So what even if Scarlet and Violet was the best that it could be in that art style, the jump from, like, the Pokemon art style to this is, again, even if Scarlet and Violet was great, it's just like there's a big gap to me in the styles and type of game.
Oh, yeah.
It is
Yeah,
just
that
odd.
Z to A is the peak of Pokemon art style.
Dude, that shit looks like dog shit. That looks like utter dog shit. But I have to say, like, I was, like, astounded when the Game Freak logo popped up. I'm like, that can't be right.
It felt weird.
It
just
felt really
Wasn't
weird.
a
But also,
Pokemon logo after.
if, like, another company had come out with this game, I'd be like, that looks kind of like a Sekiro knockoff. Because it was Game Freak, I was way more impressed with what was shown versus if it had been anybody else, I would have been like, forgettable.
When your shitty coworker actually puts together a good drawing package, and you're like, "Wait, you did this?"
Yeah, I'm immediately drawn in because it's Game Freak. Because I'm just like, what are you possibly cooking here? I've got to see more.
Once you figure out that Private Division is involved, it makes a little bit, or now Fictions, it makes a little more sense because they did Wulong, they did
They did the first Hellblade.
Yep,
I'm
Hellblade.
looking at right here.
So they've done game, like this type of game in this art style as well,
Yeah, so in May they announced that partnership with Game Freak for an untitled action adventure game codenamed Project Bloom, which is absolutely this thing because it's all about it's all about this, like,
bloom and blight, they call it.
Yeah. And so it's like this kind of plant-like thing that's kind of spreading outward. So that's absolutely the project. But yeah, so that was part of the Xbox showcase that had a couple other titles that were interesting to me. Yeah, Beast of Reincarnation. There was stuff there, but there wasn't as much that was new and surprising. It was more like I saw more footage of things that interested me. Like, the Beast of Reincarnation was the most, like, kind of was the surprise thing to me. But so, like, we saw more stuff for Outer Worlds 2. It got a full kind of developer deep dive after the fact, and this game will have to be so fucking good for me to play because of the $80 price tag that they put on it, that, like, that they have just pushed this into being a Game Pass title, that they have to deliver on their ambitions of making this a better and more robust RPG package, because the first one was good enough, I'd say, but I also played that on Game Pass back when I still had Game Pass, and it was a totally satisfactory Game Pass game, and to pay for this to be their Xbox's first $80 game, I think is asking a lot. So that announcement overshadowed anything that was shown about the game itself.
I feel like the first one was not a full
First one was
price
like
game at the time,
$50.
right? Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I don't remember its initial price. I've heard people, trying to speculate on that and not recalling.
Pretty positive it was a
Yeah.
$50 game.
Yeah, I am too, because it's not like, I don't know. I'm sure they'll have expanded scope.
Let's look at the price history on Steam. I'm seeing the original was $30. Wait, no, hold on. That's only on Steam and has only been on Steam for I don't think it's been on Steam for its entire life. So
okay.
its highest price on Steam as listed from 2 years out is 30. It's currently it's on sale, part of the Steam sale, but like its base price on Steam is $30 right now. I don't know that's what its initial price was, but yeah, I would say no more than 50.
Outer Worlds launched with a standard MSRP of $60.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, it was a full price game then, but it was definitely pushing it for that price at that range. It should have been like at a $50 price range.
I should fix that. That was that 2023 launch that had DLC.
Okay. Yeah, maybe still was 50, which just seems appropriate. So
you can buy the Outer Worlds right now for $9.89 on PlayStation Store.
It's 7 something on Steam right now. For the BioShock fans out there, Clockwork Revolution, which was again something that was first revealed at last year's Xbox showcase, got a much bigger look and more gameplay. And very much seems to be taking on the mantle of it's very similar aesthetically to BioShock Infinite. It's the kind of steampunk aesthetic. It is obviously the clockwork in the title gives you the gears turning. But yeah, it's like got these kind of, you got powers. It's all about like kind of time dilation and manipulation with kind of immersive sim style weaponry of playing with environments and the other kind of powers and mechanics you have. I think it looks cool. I was a little disappointed in how tuned up the stylization of its animations had gone since its initial review. It looks a little too cartoony for my taste. I would have liked a little bit more realism, not like photorealism, but I would have liked a little bit more of the kind of the grit of steampunk. It was a little cartoony, but I'm still very interested to see how that pans out. And then, there's things like High on Life 2, which passed. Gears of War Reloaded, which I've heard is like literally just the PC port that's already existed for years. There's no new content. Grounded, dude, what the fuck is going on in Obsidian 2? Like, they're just like pumping out game after game after game after game. Like, they had Avowed, they're having Outer Worlds 2, they just announced Grounded 2 at this showcase. I don't know how they're doing that, how they've got enough teams to work on. And will be an interesting point of discussion for Matt's thing, which I think we can get to right after this. The only other thing that interested me was there's a new Plague Tale game, and it's a spinoff. I've seen people say that it's a spinoff, that it's a prequel, that it's both, that there appears to be flashbacks to, if slight spoilers for the second game, there's ties to the Roman history of the plague is these cycle things, and there's always a bearer and a protector, the bearer of the curse and the protector. And it's like the previous bearer was back in ancient Rome, and you're kind of partially uncovering that history throughout that game. And so there's bits where it appears that you're flashing back to ancient Rome, but then the character that you're playing as was a side character from the second game. Of course, I'm forgetting her. Sophia, I think is her name. She's like a pirate, but it may still be a prequel for her. It might be before the events of that game, or I've seen people say that it's after. That her bit is after that. So it might be a bit of prequel, a bit of spin-off sequel as well. But I like the Plague Tale games, so I'm invested to see how this turns out. There's
the interesting thing for me was that generally the trend of the past couple years has been that online recourse has been the most positive about Xbox showcases after the summer show off.
Yeah.
And this year it was decidedly not. It was.
I disagree. I saw plenty of people were very positive and weighted Xbox higher.
Everything I saw seemed to indicate that they were putting Summer Games Fest ahead.
Maybe. I only ever see that people are always down on PlayStation State of Play and always more positive on the Xbox showcases. And that pattern seemed to be borne out. I didn't see many people talking about Summer Game Fest proper, so it's possible that some people ranked it higher. And
I mean, we said it before, but that falls into the line of like people be like, "Oh, Microsoft is doing something, so it's good because they're not, we're going to put this picture on our fridge and we're going to magnet it up there."
Oh, so many of these are supposedly 2026 games, which continuing the pattern of all these games shown will be out within 12 months. Okay, all right, I believe that. They showed Silk Song. That's not going to happen.
Well, they showed Silk Song on the ROG Ally with the Xbox skin over it, and then said that it'll be playable on the ROG Ally when that launches in October. So that shortens the timeline for Silk Song. Silk Song was also showed off at the Nintendo Direct back in April.
In a sizzle reel. It's just they're just teasing you at that.
But the ROG Ally was the funniest part of that showcase to me, because I've never seen so many people just so confused, and it just furthers how bad their marketing is. Because there are people who are like, this is the handheld Xbox, so I should be able to play all my Xbox games on it. No, it's a handheld PC, but you can play some of your Play Anywhere games on it. But it's still a handheld PC that's existed already, so you could just buy an Ally and get a similar experience.
You won't be able to buy the new one, so this is they will be phasing out production of the earlier ROG lines and will just be making this one.
Well, yeah, as any company would as they launch a new product.
But it's just that the partnership is more intertwined than just, we're just releasing an Xbox version. That is the future of the ROG line of products.
Until they release a Steam OS version, because that's the whole point of Microsoft moving to the handheld side, is that they're scared of Steam OS taking over the gaming handheld PC market, which it kind of owns already.
Yeah.
And then the Lenovo Legion Go S getting a Steam OS variant.
The naming for pretty much all of them sucks. Steam Deck is the best in terms of it is clear, it's a unique thing, it's got a good name, simple, easy to remember. But like Legion Go S and the ROG Ally X and XS Elite and the Xbox Series and the Xbox
You're
One
also forgetting that they all have to have silly RGB all over it, because if it doesn't have silly RGB, gamers' brains don't.
It's not gaming.
Don't fire off.
Yeah, it's not gaming.
But the funniest part of all of this is it follows the same cycle of any time Microsoft tries to announce something good, they have to bookend it with something shit, because that's just what they do. Every time there's a good announcement.
Maybe we can try to squeak this out, and we're still riding the high of the little bit of positive PR we can get. So we're not going to be getting any more anytime soon. So might as well cushion the fall a little bit.
Yeah. What is this? The announcement of our fourth set of layoffs in the last year? Or is it a year and a half?
In these ones, they've phrased them as significant.
Yeah. So we have reporting from, it was initially Jason Schreier. Everyone has jumped on the reporting since then with all manners of additional spin and add-on, that this coming week, when this episode releases, I would assume it will be Monday, because that's when the quarter ends, and that's when you would expect quarter-end cuts to happen, that there will be massive, quote-unquote, layoffs in Microsoft Game Studios. What this means, we don't know the exact extent. We don't know if it's focused on executives like Phil Spencer, who should be cut. We don't know if it's, specifically just studios. I know that there was rumors that the Forza Motorsports studio is bracing for layoff currently, and then a lot of their European companies are currently
because they're one of the things that they basically, it's all but determined that they're is going to get hit by the most cuts is their operations in Europe, their operations teams in Europe.
There's nothing like just admitting that you can't sell your console anywhere except the US. That's always a fascinating marketing strategy to me. We're not selling in the Middle East anymore. We're not selling in Europe. We're not selling in Asia. We're not selling in, I think there's some South American countries who last year, I think it was Brazil, there was stuff about them not selling.
Just a small country called Brazil. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying that because I don't remember the exact, but I'm pretty sure it was
market.
Yeah. They're just clawing back to being an isolationist gaming company, releasing their hardware in the one place that buys them at a reduced rate.
I mean, because
My
they can
personal
sell their
spin and
software.
speculation.
They can sell their software wherever they want, right? Because that's now going to
Because everything's
every
an Xbox.
system. Yeah.
Nintendo is an Xbox, PlayStation's an Xbox, PC is an Xbox, your smart TV's an Xbox.
Fridge is an Xbox.
My personal speculation on where these layoffs will happen, well, you're definitely going to see, and it'll follow the trend of whatever company has released a game recently that hasn't done well enough. So like is it Team Ninja is the whichever one's the fucking
That's Hellblade.
Yeah, Hellblade.
That's Ninja
Hellblade
Theory.
studio.
That's Ninja Theory.
There's too many Ninja studios. We need to
Yeah.
get rid of one of them. So let's cut Ninja Theory.
The Ninja Theory, and they're also because they're culturally appropriating. They're like Brits or something.
They are, you're right.
I think you had said, Ben, that they do a lot of work with their mocap for Microsoft.
That's part of it, but no, it's their AI initiative is the thing
So
that makes,
what'll
that
end up
makes me
happening is
think
they'll just
that they
absorb
won't.
the little bit of the company that does that, and then they'll just get rid of the rest of the company that releases
know.
games that don't sell.
That's like I think that if anything, they'll maybe restructure them into almost more like a support studio for the rest of. It's like they're too crucial to Xbox tech, to Microsoft gaming tech at the moment, and particularly the AI bubble. Like they were a huge part in the whole what was it? Muse was the tool thing that they were marketing a couple of weeks ago.
Clearly doesn't have anything on the Kojima soul stealing device.
So I think they're too integral to their current business ambitions to get cut. Also, they just announced that they're releasing Hellblade 2 for PS5.
Yeah, the actual version of the game a year after they released it.
Yeah, because there's going to be an enhanced version for Xbox 2. But like, I think the ones that just got all these announcements of things releasing are safe. And so that would include Ninja Theory, Obsidian. Fuck, there's another one that I'm blanking on. But those two, I think, are safe. As ghoulish as it feels to me to kind of speculate on whose heads are on the chopping block.
Todd Howard.
If only. If we lived in a just world, then yeah, maybe. Yeah. But honestly, I feel like probably like something like Compulsion, the people who just released South of Midnight, that follows that pattern that you just discussed. They have nothing else on the table that they have announced, so I don't think that would hamper them. But that they released a game that was largely felt to be pretty good to okay, but definitely undersold, did not meet any major marketing thing, and also was well received, but like look at Tango, right? That like was a critically lauded and celebrated and awarded game. South of Midnight wasn't. So I think that's a risk. But what about like the fucking Fable people? Was that Lionhead or whatever? Is that what it's called?
Sounds right.
Yeah, they didn't even show anything for that this year, did they?
Nope. I think it's Lionhead Studios. Yeah.
I mean, that is one of the tough decisions you have to make in project management, is if you can look at something and be like, this project is hemorrhaging money and not going to make it back. We should just kill it now before it ever sees the light of day.
But we know Microsoft is not good at managing project timelines or anything, so they just do cold calculus of didn't make enough money in this quarter, don't care what it's
we know that this all just relates back to the Activision purchase. Oh, yeah. Once you spend daddy's real money, daddy's going to start to expect real returns. And no amount of the fluff that happened in their initial year, where it's like, look how much more profit we made because we purchased a company who was already profitable, that starts to go away when your year over year doesn't change nearly significantly in the same rate. Because now you're being compared to your new baseline. And we know that Game Pass subs have continued to not grow in the way that they wanted, which means that their next model there is going to be continuing to raise the price to try to continue to eke more money out of the subscription, because they tried to put more games on it and that didn't move the needle the way they wanted. Boy, you've got some old Call of Duty games. Congratulations.
And only on a specific tier as well. Yeah, I am not optimistic for the future of the majority of Xbox studios. That opinion has not changed. You know, has been my feelings for a long time and has not changed and probably will not change. The only glimmer from tying it slightly back into the showcase is that a good portion of the things that, you know, get shown at those showcases are not actually like first party studios, right? It's just they've got marketing deals. So it's not like that all those studios
because that was
are
it
imperiled
Microsoft's showcase that had the Persona 4 whatever
the remake little teaser thing.
Yeah.
It was like a 10-second teaser. Yeah, but an
which
announcement
was
of the Persona 4
my
remake.
read on it was basically it was Sega's hand getting forced because Yuri
Well, no,
and all
don't
the other
for-
voice actors.
Don't forget making the announcement, but like Xbox has some deal with Sega and Atlas to have like the
Marketing
priority
rights.
marketing rights, because they did the same thing with
Metaphor
Metaphor
and Persona
Refantasio.
3.
Yeah, so that's not
is very
surprising that's where it shows up. I mean, because they have to try. They're trying to get something from Japan, and if it just backfires because they're like, because people in Japan are like, I don't own an Xbox. Does that mean I can't play this game?
Yeah.
Do I can romance teenagers?
Yeah. I remember that discourse when Metaphor was initially announced. It's like, is this Xbox only? No? Okay. I'm going to buy it on PlayStation.
Let me
it's like-
pre-order that on the PlayStation.
Final Fantasy 16 and the 7 remakes are now on Xbox.
And
there's-
not selling well.
Yeah. And there's rumor that 16 is coming to Switch 2 at some point, which all of a sudden I'm sure it'll sell better on Switch 2 because Japanese players love their Switch 2 and will all of a sudden buy it there.
Although sales of Final Fantasy in general in Japan have not been good.
Yeah, because they haven't been on Switch.
They'll be better than Xbox, that's for sure, but I don't know that it's going to be remarkable sales, but it will sell some copies, I'm sure. All right, any final thoughts or little stories that you wanted to throw in there? I feel like I had
Elden Ring
some-
Night Rain is cooking.
They continue to drop little bits of content here and there. I feel like I had something
Multiplayer game of the year.
slightly.
No doubt.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I had one other thing, but it's too long to get into. So I think that'll do it for us this week. Be on the lookout next week. Sometime, it may come out later than normal, but hopefully I'll be able to have shorts out on a regular time frame, but then hopefully we'll put out this local co-op gaming vlog that we hope to film while we're all together over the long weekend. So be on the lookout for that to pop up on the YouTube sometime the following week. Until then, you can support us on all the social medias, bar Twitter, and I think that's it. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey.